Cheese scones is on the menu today. I always think that scones are part of the British heritage. So in the bowl we have self-raising flour with a pinch of cayenne, and I'm going to add the whole grain flour or bread flour, which I'm going to sieve, and then you'll see the bran that results in the sieve, and pop that in because that's so good for you and we don't want to lose it. So literally just mix that in. Next goes the raising agent, because we want them to rise nicely. So I'm actually going to use a teaspoon and a half of baking powder. When you're using baking powder, always shake it, because baking powder is a mixture of cream of tartar and bicarbonate soda. So you need to mix it up because it tends to settle. So it's 1 level teaspoon and half a level teaspoon. So that's gone in. And then we want a teaspoon of dry mustard. Now don't think that this is going to be overpowering, because I can assure you it's not. It really does work with bringing out the flavour of the cheese, which we're going to add. We're going to use a mixture of cheddar and Parmesan cheese to give a lovely flavour. So the first thing we're going to do is add the butter, which is straight from the fridge, and it's been cubed so that it makes it a little bit easier to rub it in. Now either use your fingertips, or I have a nice pastry blender, which I find very useful. So just get your pastry blender in there and wait until the mixture resembles fine breadcrumbs. What I'm to add is the cheese, and we've got a mixture of Parmesan and mature cheddar cheese for lots of nice flavour. Use a dinner knife and just fork the two in together. Don't add salt because there's plenty of salt in the cheese, so you really don't need to add any. So now we're ready to add the milk, and you'll see that the flour and the breadcrumbs, the flour and the fat now resemble breadcrumbs. So the milk and the egg is the next step. Crack your egg, and it's a large egg, in with the milk. And just beat the two together with a whisk. Now we're not going to add quite all the liquid, because we're going to add a little bit of it. We're going to use a little bit of it at the end to brush over the scones before they go in the oven. And that will give you a lovely flavour, a lovely gloss. And it'll help with the flavour a bit. Again, you use your good old table knife and add almost all of it, and get mixing, and just see how it feels to you. Don't make it too wet, but obviously not too dry either. Very soon you'll get the feel of it. Tiny little bit more. And then when you feel that it's just about at the right stage, you actually change to your hand and get in there and start pressing the dough together, and it will form a ball quite quickly. And the idea is that you leave the sides of the bowl pretty clean. So now we can see that the bowl is more or less clean. We'll just get rid of that. And you now want to work on either one of these nice rolling pieces of plastic or a worktop. Dust the worktop with some flour, and also dust your dough just a little bit, not too much. And now we're going to knead, and when you knead, you always knead to the center of your dough, and then we're going to roll it out with a good old-fashioned rolling pin. If you haven't got a rolling pin, I always tell my teens in the kitchen, they can use their mum's wine bottle, and it works very, very well. So there you are. You need a nice dough that's nice and smooth on the surface. Good old rolling pin. A little bit of flour on that too. And now the important thing, because you only roll it quite thickly. Most people roll their scones far too thin, and that's why they don't really work. So that's about the thickness that you want. Make sure it's even, and then we're going to cut the scones and put them onto the baking sheet. Either use a cutter or you can use an egg cup. In both cases, you want to flour them to help prevent the dough sticking. And you literally put your scones onto the baking sheet, and if you put them on upside down, it's meant to make them rise more evenly. So you remember I saved a little bit of the egg and milk. So all I'm going to do with this is brush the tops of the egg. And you can sprinkle a bit, you can save a bit of the cheese and sprinkle it on top. But I honestly feel that you've got plenty of cheese in there. This will give a nice glaze, and it's not really necessary. So we're just going to pop these into the oven at 200 degrees in a fan oven for about 15 minutes.